the original season 5, episode 3, Nemi Quid Pas. This is definitely an interesting episode. I gotta be honest. I'm super shocked that Antoinette didn't get killed off. I thought for sure I would just be starting this off by saying sometimes I hate Klaus because it was just like, yeah, he's gonna kill her. And then, because sometimes he has that thing where it's like, I'll just kill the thing you're worried about, and then it's like, that thing's dead. Just come on now, like, you got nothing. And sometimes that ends up working for him. But he just goes around. Sometimes he's a fun character to watch. I really enjoy watching Klaus sometimes, but I've always liked Elijah way more because he was the calmer guy, and it was like, he thinks about stuff. He's a logical character, and then sometimes they flip the script a little, and that's pretty fun. But I was just like, I feel like Klaus. I mean, he's already been crazy Klaus for about 7 years. And I just thought for sure, they have the issues that they're dealing with, and he's gonna go in and he's gonna screw something up even worse. And I thought for sure, for a second, I was like, if he kills her, he's gonna turn Elijah into one of the main enemies, for the season, which I thought would have been cool, but I didn't want to see that happen. So I was glad that was how it played out. Really great episode. I mean, we got all the answers that I was looking for. I was like, what does he remember? What does he not remember? He remembered nothing. He legitimately was he had amnesia. It was just like normal amnesia where he knows how to speak and read and write. But it's just like, I don't remember myself. He doesn't remember anything about magic or anything like that. So he runs into Antoinette. And I like the fact that we do find out by the end of the episode that she did know who he was as soon as she met him. And that made sense because as soon as she reacted, I was like, it's Elijah. He's one of the originals. He's a Michelson. Like, everyone knows who they are and what they look like, unless unless you just got turned like a day ago or something. You don't know the whole vampire world. And I was like, clearly she's got some skills. She knows what's going on. And as soon as he came up on her, it was like, okay, I don't have time for games. But throughout the episode, it was like it kind of shifted because I was like, I assumed that she knew who he was, but then it was like, oh, maybe she just didn't want to deal with fighting another vampire, because she talks about when they're in the club how they threaten to string her up and let her burn because she doesn't eat like they do. Like, she eats at night and calms people down and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, it shifted, and then it went back by the end. It was like, oh, she definitely recognized him. It wasn't just she was freaked out, she was about to get into a crazy fight and possibly get killed. But definitely a fun episode. I like the way it was playing out with him. He gets off the bus, of course he's all dressed up. He's like tapping on the vending machine because he's hungry, and then he punches through, which was like a perfect circle. It was like, it didn't even make sense, and I was like, that's just not what would happen there. But punches through, eats the chips, and then he sees the guy and he hears the heartbeat, and of course he eats that guy. And so he goes along, he meets Antoinette. He ends up, I'm not sure where he was because obviously he left New Orleans, so I don't know where he was on that bus stop. It's at Sunnyvale. They put that there for a reason. I just don't know what relation that has to New Orleans, or distance wise. But he ends up in New York somehow, and he's just ripping people apart and just eating them up. And then Antoinette comes along, and they bond, and it's like, this is what it's like to be a vampire. I'm sure she tells him other stuff we don't hear about, but it's like, this is what it is. This is what we have. The sound thing. I thought that was really cool. That was something I feel like has never actually been touched on before, where they talk about like, oh, everything's so loud and stuff, but the way she described it, where it's like, for everyone else, just banging your hand on the table is just a thud, but we hear, excuse me, like the crackling of the wood, and then it goes all the way down to the vibration of the steel. And I was like, that's actually just a really cool way to look at it, which I've never thought of before. But I thought that was super cool. And they go through, and of course, not Klaus, but Elijah is getting some of his memories. Like, he's having those little things where it's like him speaking French and know how to play the piano. And then Marcel comes in, and of course that's where the whole connection with Rebecca comes into play. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure, once they mentioned New York, the first thing I thought that's where Rebecca and Marcel was. But granted, it was like within the first year, so it didn't necessarily mean that's where they were. But that was definitely the case. And so Marcel comes in, and it's just like, I know who you are. He says his name and everything, and then he takes off, and then, it's like, well, I want to know my past. So Elijah and Antoinette split up. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then he goes on this sort of weird journey, and I just assumed he gave up, and then he never found her, and he just, ended up going to play piano somewhere. But Marcel ends up finding him again because he spent a few months ripping people apart, apparently. And it's just like, you did a good thing. Trust yourself. And that was it. So he takes off to France, and they've been together for 7 years. And it was just like, man, that's pretty cool. Because I thought they were going to do something where she ended up dying in between. We just hadn't seen her while he was playing the piano. So I was like, that I thought was cool. And I was like, okay, she's still alive. They're still together. Just every relationship's just going strong in this show. And then I thought, of course, here comes Elijah ready to just, or here comes Klaus ready to just screw stuff up again for Elijah and everyone else, because obviously Antoinette would have been dead, but definitely great. I love the way it played out, and um, they have it where it gets super dramatic, and they have the proposal, and then here comes Klaus, and then they clear everything out, and it starts thundering and everything, which is perfect. I don't know if you guys can even hear it, but it's raining like crazy outside, and so like right as it was happening in the show, that's when it started happening outside. I was like, oh, it's like surround sound, great atmosphere, but they go through the process, and every second I was just waiting for Klaus to just like shoot past Elijah and just kill Antoinette, but he didn't do that, and Elijah's like, Elijah Michelson is gone. Like that's all there is to it. Like he is dead. You people mean nothing. And then he snaps Klaus's neck, and it's like, all right, let's get out of here. So I thought that was great, and they have a great moment at the end where he's like, he's not coming back. Like I crushed him from everything that I knew about my past life and my family and everything. Elijah was that thing, as this guiding light, and me kind of disowning him as well as the family and everything that has ever been with us. That hit him hard. Like he's not coming after us anymore. Like we're gone from his life, and they're all their lives for like probably 4 or 5 episodes. We'll see what happens. But it was just like, man, that was a really good point. And then of course Klaus picks up the phone and calls Freya, and it's like, I couldn't find him. He's gone, because there's nothing. There's no way to bring him back unless they of course just snap his memories back into him, which I feel like that's what's going to happen at some point. But I don't know what the plan was anyway. Like Klaus even said in the episode, like there's a huge risk of me just being here. And I'm like, what was the plan then? Like I know he wants help finding Haley, but he's talking about risk being there. But it's like you want to grab him and then go back, and then it's you, your brother, and your daughter. It's only 5 people. Like 3 out of 5 is probably really dangerous. Like it's already summoning snakes and water to blood. So I don't know what the plan really was, because I'm like, it's just gonna get worse and worse. So I don't know what the plan was there anyway, because it was already bad enough with the maggots popping up in this episode. I'm like, if that's bad, and he's even talking about it while he's trying to get them, what did he think was gonna happen when they all got back to New Orleans, and then it's 3 of them just like super close together? I'm just like, there wasn't a lot of thought there. He needed the help, so I understand, but it's just like, there's a little bit of thought. There's a bit of that thought process was missing a little bit, but definitely a great episode. Still no clue, no hints or anything back in New Orleans about what in the world happened, like, who took Haley and who killed the kid. But definitely looking forward to that in the next episode. And it seems to kind of get back to that. Of course, they'll be in New Orleans again, but this is a really good one. I really enjoyed this, just seeing what happened with Elijah. The first couple months, I would just assume, like, was it like 4 months, 4 or 5 months of him just kind of doing his thing and meeting Antoinette, and learning to be a vampire, and learning to drink blood from people that aren't freaked out because it tastes way better. So stuff like that, I was like, that's really cool. It's actually really entertaining to watch that and see how his character develops as this new version. So really love that. He burns away everything, at the end of the episode, where he opens the curtain so that he can set on fire and then destroy his past, pretty much. I was like, well, that's definitely cool. So we'll see what happens. I don't think he's just gone from the series. I mean, it's the final season. This isn't his last episode. We know that. So I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to shoot their memories into his head or what's going to happen there. But somehow Elijah's coming back. Elijah Michelson will be back for sure. So we'll see how it plays out. I hope it somehow works, because I feel like once that happens, either Antoinette is going to be dead, or just something's going to happen. Like whoever this mystery villain is, maybe they'll go after him, and it'll be exactly what Klaus was saying before, like, I'm killing off all our enemies, because he doesn't know friend from foe. So I don't know what that means, but maybe that's what'll happen. This mysterious person will be someone targeting the family, and eventually they'll go after Elijah, and that'll be his new reason to go back. But maybe he won't do it with his old memories. It'll be like his new revenge plan or whatever. But no matter what they do, looking forward to it. Definitely love this episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And of course, once again, whether it was the final season or not, we all know that Elijah's going to be in there somewhere. So I would love to know your predictions on how Elijah's going to come back into the fold, how he gets back into New Orleans and, being with the family again. I would assume, it depends on whether or not my theory is right. Of course, if it's, one of the many people that Klaus hasn't killed yet, they know that he's been going on that crazy tirade. It wouldn't surprise me if that was, if they would just make up a new person. It's like, well, that's the main villain for the season. And then they do some stuff in New Orleans, then they take off, and it's like, oh, Elijah's by himself. Even though he doesn't remember, I'll still torture him for what his brother did. So that's kind of my prediction at this point, is that it's going to be someone from one of the families. Klaus nearly wiped out. They might be the last living member, so they're just going to torture the family. And then they'll end up killing Antoinette, which would really suck. And that's why Elijah will end up going back to New Orleans. So that's my theory on it, but I would love to know yours. And of course, what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.